Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a new session in your show, Is Vision. Many countries become owning an international effectiveness dimension of being main players in humanitarian fields, getting close to the cultural exchange area, and that enhances the mutual ties among nations to pour emphatic global peaceful coexistence. Sudan testifies on many efforts and many events in this track for a variety of reasons, and being space that attract the international humanitarian intervention to decrease the vulnerability features that touch some life size of many people of local community. Italy is one of the countries that has a very strong presentation on diplomatic stage with Sudan. Take a profound part in humanitarian field via Italy Development Corporation, one of the prominent organizations in Sudan. In different Sudanese areas, they work, particularly in Eastern Sudan. So today we are going to have you an exciting trip with the prominent person who is the witnesses and participator in several projects accompanied by the IDC. I can't wait to start up, but we should start after this break. Be with us. Welcome back again, and it's my pleasure to have very dear guests inside the studio. I would like to give you Dr. Paolo Giambelli, the program officer of the IDC. Welcome to the program. I thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, and good evening to you.
Thank you very much indeed. Italian corporation has become as part of the local community here. So could you please just give us a little background about the IDC establishment?
So the Italian cooperation is based in Sudan since long time. And we have, as you mentioned before, special ties with the eastern part, where since 2008 we started to have prominent interventions in the humanitarian sectors, mostly in health and education, because by tradition the Italians are very linked to the social service that are for the education of the people and the provision of the care to the people. We still have programs now dealing even with agriculture. As you know, Italians are by tradition farmers, and they succeed to develop techniques and skills and knowledge in that sector that we are happy to bring here with our friends in Sudan.
Very well. Statically, how many projects are accomplished by the IDC? And you mentioned many sectors, so could you please give us more information, which sectors that you focus basically on?
May I try to focus myself from the beginning in Kassala. In Kassala we have at the moment intervention in health. Health for us is entailing also education, and actually we are supporting the institutions that by definition in Kassala, but even in the other states, provide education to the people, as the Academy of Health Science. The Italian cooperation is the agency of the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. So go through the institutional structure for providing support. So the Ministry of Health, for instance, and the university or the institution for education. Aside that, in this very moment in Kassala we have two big programs. One is dealing with the strengthening of the Ministry of Health in some specific sectors, as data collection, the provision of drugs, the organization even of the primary health care, supporting the antenatal care and the reproductive health. Aside that, we have just started this year a very big intervention funded by the European Union that we have been delegated to implement, a bit broadening the area and making the system and the sector in Kassala, Red Sea and Gedaref in health working with all the pillars. So the improving of the infrastructure, the provision of equipments in the infrastructure and drugs wherever we need, and mostly the human resources, the so-called frontline human resources, because if you build up a hospital without the human resource inside.
They need a training, you know.
We support the training for the continuing education through the institution of the CPD, so-called, and for the formal training through the Academy of Health Science.
So the training services available in this institution that you...
Yes, we support the institution to bring up and to fulfill the trainings that are already defined by the federal minister and the state minister. For sure focusing mostly mother and child health, where we have the core business for us.
Oh wow, that really is so great job. Well, really this is a huge activity that you practice, and really maybe this is a needle assistance or cooperation from different sides. So I believe that you have a partner also who participate in this. So who are your partner that
we have partners, as I mentioned, within the institution. Our formal partner is the Ministry of Health here in Kassala. But we have even other partners that are the so-called multilateral partners, the institution and the agency of the United Nations. UNICEF is a partner of ours, WHO of course is a partner of ours, the UNHCR is a partner of ours. And then wherever we need, we partner even with the local community organization or local NGOs that are instrumental for reaching the communities, because we have a special eyes to bring the service to the communities, because it is there that people are living and they need and deserve to be served.
Okay, talking about partner, and really they have a very clear participation. So could you please just tell us about the nature of this partnership? I mean, is there a difference, or maybe?
No, there are differences, of course. The Italian government has funds that are channeled through this international agency, focusing specific sectors. So just to simplify, the WHO, for instance, is implementing a specific activity, receiving funds from Italy for that, or negotiated for that. And this is the way that every single country in the world works with this United Nations agency. What we do more is to integrate what the Italian cooperation does with all the other do, in order to magnify the impact, and as you know, is important to organize better the intervention. There is the concept of the alignment and the concept of the coordination that are extremely important. To be aligned, as we do, with the national policy. So what we want to do is the achievement of the targets of the policy of Sudan, because we are guests, and to put together in a better harmonized way our funds.
Well, back to the achievement of this project, which is really so huge and really have a very profound effect on local community. For sure, there is a little challenges that you face. So what kind of that challenges that you face at the first time, and how you pass it?
Of course, there are challenges, and this is the reason that we are here, because cooperation for development has this reason, that in this kind two nations, they decided to cooperate to improve the status and the service in the country. Yes, of course, there are challenges. Often the resources available are not enough, so we complement. The level of skills and knowledge is not yet updated, and so we try to support with the so-called technical assistance the different elements that are mostly the managerial aspect, how to manage drugs, how to manage the data, and to analyze them properly for planning for results. That is one of the major
okay, I'll keep this point because the controller give me a sign there is a phone call. Hello, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm Mr. Ahmad Rahman. How's life with you?
Yeah, how are you? How are you doing? I'm very glad to be with you today online on Vision.
Thanks a lot. And today we just talk about the humanitarians, and there is many NGOs here. We have Italian Cooperation, for instance, also participate in humanitarian activities here in Eastern Sudan. So I want to ask you the useful that the people can get it, and how you explain the humanitarian activities.
Yeah, really, it is very interesting, and I think from the point of view, the Italian Cooperation Development, it has a good kind of participation. The society, also Sudan and Italians have relations are deep-rooted from a long time, and there are many mutual kind of business in different aspects to part of country. Also at the geographicals, as you know, Italian is located between the north and east of the Europe, and also between the Middle East. Italy is seen as being closer to Africa and Middle East regions. So I guess from this point, Italian just seek to establish a partnership and a dialogue between the major industry nations, those of African continent, from the as to resolve a current international crisis and problems. In addition to that, also I think just as to establish a good corporations and numerous aspects, including the economic and the developmental atmosphere, and the field also of environment like climate change and peace, also security and stability. And I think also the previous the previous week there is economic, I guess, forum between the Italian and the Sudanese government. So all those just will give us a hint and also indicators for the kind of humanitarian and support to the you can say developing countries, and Sudan one of those. Also, based on that, strong support of the corporation, Italian corporations, in convinced of the need to have just after 2012, I guess, the respect with the greater, you can say, emphasis of poverty reductions and economic development. This is, I guess, according to the COP 2011.
All right.
Also, together with the Sudanese implementing partner, the Italian corporations outline over the intervention strategy through the sector analysis to assess the basic needs of the populations. Also from the, you can see, as I said from the beginning, geographically also target the areas of implementations. You can see like mechanism have been just identified, just taking into consideration the specific characteristic of those countries like Sudan and so on, or the developing countries.
Okay, Mr. Ahmed, really you mentioned a very interesting point. In this point, really even very points is need, you know, a particular section for it. Really, thank you very much indeed for your participation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Raji. Thanks to your guest.
Thank you. I mean, there is a really very interesting point has been mentioned by Mr. Ahmed, but we still have a little boring down question, really, because it is very huge, and really people feel more gratitude about the efforts that's done and accepted by the Italian Cooperation Organization. Okay, back to the project. Really, for sure, really, it's very big project has been done. Thank you very much indeed. But we need to to focus on sustainability. So is there any mechanism, what's the mechanism for sustainability in order just to keep giving services for the local community?
The major one is the strong relationship we have with the institution.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we do is already defined by the national policy.
Okay.
We are not coming here with our own agenda. And this is a crucial point. So we support and we help Sudan and the states of the eastern part of Sudan to implement what they have defined and what they have decided to do.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do it? Through a continuous capacity building process. So together we try to find out the way to manage the resources we have towards the targets has been set, in order that is their job what is coming out at the end as outcome and results.
Mm-hmm.
The support we provide is usually a sort of a kick-start. But as we are trying, for instance, to do now in Gedaref, there are programs where there is, within the process, a progressively ownership given to the communities or the localities or the state, even in terms of finances, where we start with our full support. After 1 year, there is the co-participation from the other side of a certain portion, and after another year on another portion, reaching the point that the total sustainability is now on the hands of the community and the hands of the locality. Our example of the idea that what we want to do here is not to import something from outside, that is absolutely not our interest, but hand in hand to move towards your decision and your objectives, as a cooperation should do, because cooperation means that two people together, they decide to cooperate.
Yes. Very nice point, really so interesting, and really for sure, when you find some people or wherever that people come from and give you some assistance, just try to improve. This is what I believe is just like enhancing and emphasize for the global peaceful coexistence, and also give space for cultural exchange. Just like I want to know more about you, you need to know more about me, and this really will create very big space for collaboration in different sides. Back to the community, because really this is very interesting point. I went just to ask this question. Tell me about the reaction, how the local community react with the achievement of the Italian cooperation.
Of course, because we are working in very remote area, sometimes the curiosity is the first point, because maybe we are the first after a long time European person, Kawaja, that comes and reaches that point. For instance, just 1 month ago, I think for the first time, a Kawaja spent some days in Telkok, sleeping there and staying there with the doctors of the hospital of the Telkok city. So curiosity, of course, in the good sense of the curiosity, that is the interest to know, as you mentioned before, better something about the other person that is nearby you. What touched me more is the extremely they make you welcome from the very beginning. And this is part of the tradition of Sudan. When you arrive in a certain place, you notice immediately that people are worried about you. But worry in the means that they want you to stay well there. So that they have it. That in our society that is a little bit hectic because you have to work, the time is money, as we said. This aspect of humanity in the relationship is something that we have missed, and here we find again, and I love it a lot. With a little sign that for you are extremely important, that is the donation of the water, for instance, because here water is something that
really big dilemma here, really.
But immediately people comes to you giving you a bottle of water, as a welcome sign that you are there, as a sort of a guest, but in any case a special guest that they have to take care for you, of you. Of course, the country is completely different. I mean, now I'm a bit joking, but we don't have camel on our roads. Yeah. So there is even the curiosity for the environment. That is often wonderful, not to mention the beauty of the Red Sea, the mountains here in Kassala, and the endless farms in Gedaref that are impressive for us, because we do not have such a kind of space that now during the rain season are wonderful, because it is a green sea in front of your eyes, endless, with all those crops ready to be harvested, and even that is impressive.
Yeah, really, you know, thank you very much indeed, because this is just like a certificate for the Sudanese people. It's not just you speak about this point, and you are outside, you are inside within us, and really welcome to the Sudan. And this is just reflects the traditionals and the souls that they have, the Sudanese people. They all the time welcome the guests and welcome in a friendly manner, and really that has been reflected even by Mr. Ambassador in his field visit when they come here to Kassala. He talks about the Sudanese people. Really, we've mentioned many points. We would like to watch this report about the statement by Mr. Ambassador Ararmando Barocco and come back again. Be with us.
You know, when my first trip outside Khartoum, I've been ambassador of Italy here in Sudan for the past 3 years. My first trip was actually 3 years ago, was here in Kassala. And we have a very special relationship with the people of Eastern Sudan, and especially the people of Kassala. As you can see, here there is a sign that dates our cooperation with the Academy of Medical Science since 2008. And this is a reflection of the excellent relationship that we have between our two countries, which are historical, but as Minister Ali Karti said once, the Italian and the Sudanese people are shakik. So we have a very special bonding and a very special relationship with the people of Sudan. We have been working in the health sector, but also in other sectors in Sudan for the past 30 years. But in the past 3-4 years, we increased all our programs, especially in the health sector. So I would say that in the past 3 years, Italy invested in Sudan, and especially in Eastern Sudan, more than 20 million euro. The main sector, the main geographical focus is Eastern Sudan, and the main sector is the health sector. And since the start of our programs, the Academy of Health Science here in Kassala was one of our main partners. Let's talk also a little bit about the future. All the work that we have done in the health sector has actually facilitated the decision from the European Union to assign the health program for the rehabilitation of the health sector in Eastern Sudan to the Italian cooperation. So we feel a lot of responsibility, and we are very grateful for the trust that the European Union and all the European Union member states and people have actually relied on us. You know, we do, we implement our projects in 3 different ways. One is with the UN agencies, one is with the Italian NGOs, but we mostly actually implement our projects by ourselves. The Italian Cooperation has an office in Kassala, in Gedaref and Port Sudan, and especially in the implementation of our direct implementation of our projects, we actually do that in full cooperation with the central authorities, with the local authorities, and especially the Ministry of Health. We actually have an office of the Italian cooperation in the Ministry of Health, and obviously with all the local communities. But, you know, I've been in here in Kassala, visiting Kassala 4 times. Every time I was received as a friend and as a brother. Yesterday I was in Amashkoreb, and we had a very interesting visit, actually monitoring all the projects that we do there through the World Food Program and laying the ground for the future projects that we will actually manage in the next 3 years with funds coming from the European Union and also from the Italian government. And today, again, I was in Kirkuk. And also there we visited with the commissioner all the projects that we are implementing and that we are planning for the future. There is still a lot of work to do, but then what I can see, and this is something that in my experience in Sudan has been a constant component of our relationship with the authorities, we see excellent skills, we see the full commitment, and so in principle I'm very optimistic. There is a lot of work still to be done, but this is not only Sudan, it's everywhere in the world, etc. But we can see in our relationship day by day with the authorities and the officials of the ministry, but also with the local commissioner and the authorities and with the central government in Khartoum, we really see a true commitment and excellent professionalism and skills. I've been here for 3 years. I've been traveling all around Sudan. I just have one experience. In 3 years, I was never the subject of any hostile gesture. I find I'm really convinced that the Sudanese people are one of the nicest people in the world. From the cultural point of view, you have a very rich and interesting culture. Here in Kassala, you have one of the most beautiful mosques in the whole of Sudan. And I have a lot of interest. One of my masters is in the study of cultures and religion with a minor in Islam. And I took a lot of interest, especially in your Sufi tradition. And I have a lot of relationship in Khartoum with all the Turuk, Samaniya, Kharijiyya, and Khatmiya. No, I know nothing. But it's very interesting, and it's also some of the most beautiful evening I spent in Khartoum was actually with some of the Sufi Turuk. I feel a very strong bond here with Kassala, especially because I consider that the Makatmiya Mosque is one of the most beautiful places in the whole of Sudan. And actually, probably some of the older people know that the Katmiya Mosque was actually restored in 1941 by the Italian army. The Italian army entered during the Second World War, entered Sudan for 50 kilometers. We stayed in Kassala, and people have still very good memories of that period. But one of the very important things that we did, we actually restored the mosque, and we actually kept the mosque as it is. And I think this was a very intelligent, very clever way to have a good relationship with the people.
As you say, this is a cooperation, and this is neither a collaboration and cooperation from different sides, from me and you, in order to create something good and something better. Really, we have a little problem here. The poverty takes place here. So poverty alleviation. What about it? I mean, how the IDC performs in this track in the poverty?
Is perceived by the Italian government as a crucial point. And this is the reason that we are supporting Sudan with the tune of 20 million euro through the different programs that now we have in place. So the commitment from the Italian government through the cooperation is pretty strong, also in consideration of the crisis that we have in Europe. So to allocate money to a friend country is not easy. We are trying to tackle the problem together on the main sector that, as you mentioned before, and I want to underline, is the education. It is extremely important to have educated girls for the future generation, because the more is proved by the history of many countries and by even scientific documentation that the more the female are educated, the more the country grows. Grows from all the point of view. The point of view of the culture, but even the capacity to invest, the entrepreneurship, the participation on the decision of the women is an added value. So education for sure. And then health, because what you put in health, it gives you back on the other way. An healthy population product and is capable to cope with the difficulties better than a sick population that should struggle every single day with maybe very simple and curable disease that are harming the everyday life of the people.
Okay. You know, before we run out of time, Chester, I want to ask you the East in Dr. Paolo Giambelli eyes. How do you see it here?
The east of Sudan, as I said before, is wonderful because it's different in the three different states. They have their peculiarities. Some of them, they are impressive. As I mentioned before, the Red Sea is something that is spectacular and is unique in the world. The same here, Italians, they have an historical tie with Kassala because we have been here during the last war, and an Italian architect was the one restoring the mosque here under the El Taka, the very nice mosque you have there. So under my eyes is something that is not very far indeed from my culture, and I have been strongly impressed by the history of Sudan, moving along the Nile, of course, where you have this heritage place from this very old Nubian population, but even here, because often in the discussion we had, we found in the diversity, of course, of the religions and the culture, many common points. As Italians, we are pretty good in building up friendship, and is recognized everywhere. We are people that we are easygoing. We don't. We like to stay together, to spend some time drinking tea and coffee, and chatting a bit. So maybe it's easier for us to have it. But I have been impressed by that. I had the feeling to be a little bit at home under a different sky, of course, with the challenge of maybe a very harsh weather, because during the hot season it's not easy to stay here. But all in all, I don't feel a real foreigner in this country. I don't know where it's coming, this feeling.
Oh yeah, really it is so big because you know, this is a huge variety that we have, and really we have so much in common between you know, Sudanese and Italy, and including this one, the friendly and just easygoing, and people, you know, just you know, penetrate the campus, the barrier without any effort, any kind of double effort.
Yes.
So really, really, I'm so exciting. And Chester, let's just take a little look at the future. You know, you're so close to this kind of activities and humanitarian field. So the future, how can it be seen? And also that's matching with the MDG, the Millennium Development Goals. So is it going to be brilliant and bright future?
Brilliant in this very moment is a little bit hard to be said. Challenges are there. I cannot deny them, and is the reason that we are hardly working to try to override the difficulties that we have in front of us. But all in all, I may say that in these last years, even if we are still far from the target, there has been an impressive acceleration towards the targets. And what is important when you have a benchmark is not really to be sure that you are reaching, but that there is a totality of effort and good commitment to go towards that target. That often is very ambitious, but it is important to have it. There is, as I said before, a long way, mostly, for instance, for the maternal mortality ratio that is pretty far from the target. Even the under 5 mortality rate is yet far. But numbers are not all. Are important, but are not all the matter. Statistics cannot be the box where you put society and trends toward development. As the gross domestic product is not the real indicator of the wealth of the people, because you may have it very, very high, but concentrated in the hands of few, and so the big part of the population do not benefit. So don't make use of the statistics and as number as the indicators. There is a lot of work to do, but there is even a good atmosphere and a conducive context, and I am sure that maybe not really on time, but almost on time we can reach the results that we have been set for the total humanity.
Really, it is a big deal. Really, it is so concerning. Really, you know, people just appealing and waiting for effort, you know, to be exerted more and more, in order to just try to cover this vulnerabilities aspect, which it takes different aspect. Really, I'm so exciting, and you, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, it's so interesting for us, you know, to receiving your ideas, your suggestions. As you know, you can find us, follow us at our accounts on Facebook and also in Twitter. And as you know, we have a special channel within YouTube. And really, I would like to thank you very much indeed for people who comment and give us more thoughts. This will help us improving our program. And as you said, it's not just like try to conversational parts that we try to play or just try to bring in topic. Even we thinking of the commentary and also bringing ideas, just try to make it on a stage in order to you know, and everybody can get maximum benefit of it. And really, I'm so excited for this interview, and I have many questions, but unfortunately the controller told us that we run out of time. So in a last word, do you have any message that you want to send it loud and clear?
But the only message that I may say is, as I repeated, that cooperation is a masterpiece of the human development. Okay. Cooperation in the real sense, that people want to stay together and to work together. The other crucial element that is the real atomic bomb of the humanity is the peace. Peace makes things moving very fast. And we have the condition in this moment to combine these two elements, and we cannot miss the moment and the time. And on that two bricks, those two bricks, I think that we can build. Here in Sudan, there are the possibilities, if there is a goodwill to move in that direction, to achieve a lot.
And really also it's my term, on behalf of the Sudanese people, we would like to thank you, really thank you very much indeed, just reflect our warm gratitude for what you've done for us and you're still doing. Really you help us in many fields, and this is really give very space and just people feel more proud about the mutual ties between Italy and Sudan. And we'd like to thank you very much indeed for your time being here with us, and thank you very much indeed for watching us. Until to see you next time. Bye bye.
Grazie mille, ciao, arrivederci.
Yeah. Grazie mille.